All right, morning everyone. Let's get fired up. Another exciting day on the JSE in global financial markets. Let's fire it up. Okay. Absolutely nothing happened last night in U.S. markets. Finished more or less flatline across the board. We had a hell of a lot of earnings out over the last few days. Netflix out after the bell on Wednesday evening, where I think we finished up over 15% yesterday. Quite spectacular. We had all of the major banks have already reported. Every single one of them have beaten so far. There have been very few companies that I've seen up to this point that have missed. Goldman Sachs absolutely destroyed earnings yesterday. Earnings per share $6. Expectation was for $4.26. We also had Citi out yesterday, beating there as well. We had initial jobless claims. Yesterday were a little bit softer than expected. I think Philly Fed came out yesterday. It was a little bit better than expected, if I'm not mistaken. And then we've had the oil prices, which have really been drifting higher over the last few sessions. I think one of the big things there was we've been seeing the rig count that's fallen for, I think it's fallen for 5 months now. But the last this past week was the first time that we've seen actual production numbers fall in I think several years in the States, and so I think that's gotten the guys really excited in the oil sector there. The oil price really running hard. I mean, we've run hard off the bottom. We were $20 lower than this on light sweet, if I'm not mistaken, only maybe a month and a couple weeks ago. So I think that that's where the big part of the oil price move has come from. How much more of that we've got, I'm not really sure. From what I understand, the Iranian oil supply won't really hit into the market for quite some time. So that's not really that big of a deal, even if we do go forward with removing some of the sanctions there. So yeah, when we saw a bit of a bounce off the lows in iron ore as well. So some slight bounces off the lows happening there. Whether or not that's going to prove to be something sustainable is anybody's guess. Okay, moving on into Asia. You can see the Shanghai outperforming once again, just under up 2% on the session. If I'm not mistaken, we've rallied almost 20% in 2 weeks in Shanghai, which is, spectacular to say the least. I would say I think it's up like 15-16% in 2 weeks, maybe 17%, somewhere in there. I don't know how many times throughout history that's ever happened in a major index, or in any index for that matter, in globally, especially on in a major economies index. But it is what it is. Like we said last week, they opened 1.1 million new stock accounts there. They lent record leverage from all the brokerages, so things are really getting, I think, quite frothy in those markets. How it ends out and it plays out is anyone's guess. This could go on for a hell of a lot longer. So anyway, we saw Nikkei down, Australia down overnight, Hang Seng more or less flat, probably led by the miners, I think, out of Australia to the downside, but a little bit stronger yen also putting some pressure on the Nikkei. But other than that, not a whole lot to really follow on. Okay, our chart of interest is from Charlie Bilella at Pension Partners. This is market's expectations for the first rate hike, for the first Eurozone rate hike. You can see there is in the UK rate hike and the US rate hike. And I think that you can see what's going on here with the Eurozone and the US and the divergence that we've obviously seen. But I think that picture is slightly starting to change now a little bit. One of the things that I think really got markets nervous yesterday was what was going on in Europe. The possibility of Greece dropping out at the moment of the Eurozone, the possibly defaulting on debt. I think April 24th is actually a big deadline. That headline's just been drifting around for so long now. It's been a couple of years that Greece has been potentially defaulting. But if you guys haven't been watching closely, I think that this is actually what led the sell-off in the DAX yesterday, in hindsight. And And there may be more of that to come. The interesting thing is that the euro is strengthening on the back of that. And to me, there's a little bit of a hidden story here that no one's paying attention to, and I think simply because the Greece story has been around for so long. But we saw Greek 2-year yields, I think, trade up to 27% or something like that intraday yesterday. The 2s, the 5s, and the 10s on Greek yields yesterday all rose by over 10%. On the day, the yields rose over 10%. We were up 16% on the 2-year yesterday, and you saw that in the German 10 years. German 10 years are starting to get dangerously close to negative yields, and I think that is a space where it might set off some real alarm bells. So, I think short term there definitely could be some real aversion in Europe, and I think that if you were looking for a correction out of Europe, it might be here right now and very quietly here. So I think that's maybe potentially an opportunity over the next couple of sessions. All right, in the States today, slew of earnings. Big boy to really look for today is obviously General Electric. And we look at market data out today. We've got jobless claims change out of the UK, ILO, and employment rate. We've got CPI out of the Eurozone, CPI in the States, Michigan sentiment numbers in the States, as well as the U.S. leading index. So, all right, let's get into the maps. The first thing I want to look at this morning is copper price. Copper out of New York. So we've seen this turn in some of the, let me just run this from the very top wick here. And you can see that we've broken out. I'd prefer to draw this from the candles, which would really be like this. In which case I think that we've broken out. I think we've broken out in any case, but you can see the main pattern here has been we've got a really nice bull flag that's set up here in the copper price. And what is also nice about this, we had that big breakout, but we really faded pretty hard from up around 290 down to 270, and then we held on support on this new uptrend here. So I think that's a very bullish, it's a bullish thing for copper. We've definitely broken out of I think this this bull flag here, and I think there's no reason why we can't move back to the recent highs in copper. Okay, let's look at Glencore. On the back of that, Glencore really making a move up. We've had this one's performed better than every single one of these mining stocks over the past few weeks. You can see there it never could really bomb out the bottom, and we've been in a sideways consolidation for about $3. Finally, just narrowly got out of the top of it yesterday. I'd like to really see a new closing high. Maybe yesterday, no, it wasn't quite a new closing high. I'd like to see a new closing high, which I think would be above maybe 54.30-ish. So we closed right there, but I think I'd like to see a new closing high on this. Maybe take us up quickly to around 57, 57.50, something like that. Next one we'll look at is Sasol. Sasol had we traded up to 485 intraday, maybe even 486, and we made quite a big reversal off that. We traded to 473 just maybe half an hour before the auction, and they managed to drift it up, and then they closed it up in the auction about $2 or $1.50. So we closed up back to this 480. This 480 level is massive, as you can see here on the charts. I mean, there's just no other way to say it. I would, as hard as we've run into this level, I'd kind of almost expect it to make at least some sort of pullback, maybe down to around here, maybe to the 455 level. But you can see, I mean, we've had 4 days in a row, which would take us from 420 to 480. And if you conclude that into, to a fifth day, we're coming all the way down from about a close at around 417. I mean, it's a real move there. I think that this thing is hectically overbought in the short term. I think that there's a good chance that we can come off the top a little bit here, but just watch this closely. This is going to be interesting over the next few sessions. All right. Next one we'll have a look at this morning is MTN. MTN, a beautiful breakout yesterday. I mean, you could really just feel it consolidating the whole morning here. 225. You can see we topped out here, topped out there, topped out. I mean, we touched 225 over from the December period to now, it looks like we've touched 225, 7 to 8 times, I would say, and failed every single time. Yesterday, as we got through 225, you can see it just went absolutely nuts. And I think that this opens the door for a very, very big target in MTN. If we really run this thing from the bottom levels here, I mean, it should be a 25 rand target, which just puts us up to around 250. But in the short term, maybe we could look for slightly less of a move. But this is definitely a big, big breakout. If we get a retest to 225 and a hold, I think that just confirms the level further and give us an opportunity to really to get on board this thing for a move higher. The last one we'll look at this morning is ShopRite, which you're looking at this thing before it's actually making the pattern, but I'm just throwing it out there, looking a little very head and shoulderish. I mean, this is a perfectly symmetrical head and shoulder. Keep in mind, we've got to fall a lot further to drop the neckline here, but the pattern doesn't look good. So just keep that in mind. I know a lot of guys been looking for some retailers that have been lagging to pick. This has been, lagging for the most part relative to the sector. I think you just got to be careful with ones like this out there. Definitely looking very head and shoulderish. Neckline all the way down at 154-ish. But if it gets down there, then and drops that level, it could get ugly. And that's it for today, guys. Good luck out there.